Hello you guys, welcome back. That was weird. Redo. Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel for this video on how to keep your grocery budget low. If you're new here, hi, my name's Alice. I love to chat about money and show you a little bit about my life, mostly overcoming the scarcity mindset, creating meaning with money. So if that sounds interesting to you, don't forget to subscribe. But today I'm going to be sharing my 6 crucial steps or tips for keeping the grocery budget low as prices are increasing. So this video is not about how to keep your grocery budget to like $10 a month, growing all your own food, eating ramen. Like, it's nothing like that. These are really simple tips to incorporate that are very sustainable for your grocery budget. So a quick little story time as to why this is so important to me right now. I was pretty apathetic about our grocery budget for a long time. I just really didn't think that much about it. I thought we were just, grocery shopping like normal. Everyone else was insane as to why their grocery budgets were so high. And I would get comments on my YouTube channel being like, how do you only spend $400 a month or something? And I would be like, nah, we just go grocery shopping. But then this last summer rolled around, and since my husband was going to be doing a lot more heavy lifting in the yard, putting in a lot more time than I was, I decided that I was going to take over doing the grocery shopping because he was like the main person that did it. And I suddenly doubled our grocery budget overnight. I was like, that's interesting. Okay, so there was something that we were doing to keep our grocery budget low. So our grocery budget went from like $400 a month to like $700 a month. That's when I decided to sit down and really write out my grocery buying process from start to finish with a few of my tips to make sure that we were keeping our grocery budget low, because we realized that although I am not against spending a lot of money on groceries at all whatsoever, I am a huge proponent of the idea of having a rich life. For me, Sadie talks about how you turn up the money dials and you're spending on the things you really care about and you ruthlessly cut the things that you don't care about. I'm all about lifestyle creep if it's intentional. And we realized after spending a lot of money on our groceries a couple months in a row that grocery shopping and food was not something we wanted to spend an insane amount of money on. So let's get into these 6 sustainable and easy tips to keep your grocery budget low. Also, if my voice sounds really low and like kind of scratchy, that's because I went to an amusement park recently and absolutely screamed my head off. Very fun, but I am the ripe old age of 25, so obviously I feel destroyed and my voice is like gone. So my first tip for keeping your grocery budget low, and this is maybe the most important thing, or it's just the foundation, but that is to plan your meals, not prep them. Obviously you can prep your meals if you want. I personally am not a fan of meal prepping. I find that spending 5 to 10 hours on a Sunday prepping all of my food for the coming week just to inevitably by Wednesday hate the meal that I'm making. So meal planning is a way to get most of the benefits of meal prepping, except for you don't have to do so much front-loaded work. If meal prepping works for you, like, I'm so jealous of people who can eat the exact same thing every single day for like maybe the same breakfast for 10 years or the same lunch for 10 years. Like, I think that's amazing. Could not be me, unfortunately. So meal planning keeps your grocery budget low because you are specifically buying food that can create meals. And why this keeps your grocery budget in check even when prices are skyrocketing is because when you meal plan and buy the food for those meals, you reduce the amount of times that you have to go grocery shopping within a given month, or you lengthen the time in between grocery hauls. So me and my husband, we don't go grocery shopping every single week on the same day. We try to make our food last as long as humanly possible, and meal planning really is the way that we're able to do this. If you're buying food for specific meals, then every single night when you get ready to make a dinner, your mental burden is so much lower because you already know exactly what you're going to make. So instead of feeling very frazzled when you're standing in front of the fridge wondering what you need to eat while you're growing increasingly hungry, and then it stops you from deciding that you have to we have to go grocery shopping, we have no food. The laws of physics literally state that if you step foot in the grocery store, you have to spend like $75 to $100 no matter what, even if you went in for one thing. Like, I don't make the rules, I just follow them. But genuinely speaking, if we reduce the amount of times we step foot in a grocery store, we save so much money on groceries. I actually have gotten to the point where I quite enjoy meal planning. It took a while, but I have a very solid process now. I pull up my Notion template. It's not even a template, it's just like a really long list, and every time it's a new week, I just like move all the old recipes down. I create a bulleted list of the recipes that I want to make, and so I scour the internet, like AI, Pinterest, HelloFresh recipe archives, which are free and have all the ingredients that you need to buy. Like, I would never buy HelloFresh because it's a lot more expensive and it just does not feed my husband. It just doesn't work for him, but they have all the recipes online. And then I start to create a meal list for that week. And you can also check your own pantry or fridge to see if you have any ingredient that you forgot about that you could create a meal around. So I try to mix it up with like solid foods that we know that we love, like recipes that are tried and true that are our favorite, slow cooked enchiladas, street tacos, quiche, along with new and exciting recipes so that it keeps things exciting. I will say sometimes you will make something that is not good. Recently, I made a meal that was super healthy, but it was absolutely disgusting and I like couldn't even think about it. It made me feel so gross. But my husband fulfilled his husbandly duties by telling me that he loved it and he ate it for like 2 more days after that when I literally wanted to throw up thinking about it. Like it was just so gross to me. So yeah, I married a good one. I write down the name of the recipe that I want to include for that week, and then I also hyperlink it or link it to the website of the actual recipe so that when I go back later I can always find new recipes. I also write down every ingredient that we need for that recipe that we don't have. This way, when I want to meal plan in the future, I already have recipes that I know I like, and if I don't like it, like I put like a little siren and like say gross next to it to make sure that we don't remake that meal. The more you meal plan, the easier it becomes to meal plan, and then you're just like meal planning every week, and like I can't even remember the last time we didn't meal plan for a grocery haul, and it's just made our lives so much easier and our grocery budget so much lower. I have had something in my eye all day and I cannot get it. Oh, it could be allergies. Anyways, my second tip is to make a grocery list. So this is different from the first tip. You guys hear me out, okay? So making a grocery list, which is actually like what you take to the store. Me and my husband, we do like to use a shared reminder on our phone so that one of us can go grocery shopping if the other one is busy. An effective grocery list is vital for keeping your grocery budget down, making sure that it is a very smooth experience when you go to the grocery store. Number one, as I already kind of mentioned, I look in the pantry, look in the fridge to see what we already have from that list. So like I'll make like a rough estimate list when I'm meal planning, but then I make sure that I go back through the pantry and the fridge to see if we already have any of that to keep the grocery budget lower. This most recent time, I guess things got buried in the veggie drawer. Moral of the story, we have 4 red peppers now and I don't know what we're gonna use for them. So if you have any bell pepper heavy recipes, definitely drop them in comments below because like I'm gonna need some inspo for that. But most of the time I usually check the drawers to make sure that we're not overbuying anything. Also, this was definitely a struggle for us, but do not forget to also add breakfast items to the grocery list. So I find that I meal plan a lot of dinners, but then when it comes to breakfast items, some people like my husband, they can't do dinner items for breakfast. Like for me, I think that cold pizza or leftover pizza is a breakfast item. I have no problem eating like a cold baked potato or breadsticks for breakfast, but like some people don't like that. So you have to make sure to always be including those items because you do not want to go hungry for breakfast. And then I know that buying fun little cutesy items at the grocery store is kind of becoming a thing of the past because they're becoming so expensive. Like experimenting with a new snack that's like 20 bucks or something. Like a lot of people are trying to keep their grocery budget down, but I find that there are very simple things you can add to your grocery list that are very cheap to make the week fun. So for example, I added lemons to the grocery list and those are like what, 75 cents each or something, I can't remember, but I used them to make lemon shortbread cookies and it was so cheap, but it also was super fun. And it makes grocery shopping and keeping a leaner budget more sustainable because you're not feeling like you're going without so much and you are having a little bit of fun within your budget. I also try to never forget to add eggs and milk to the grocery budget because seldom do we ever use them in actual like dinner recipes, but we go through them so fast when it comes to like baking and eating breakfast. So as you grocery shop and you get more familiar with it, you're definitely going to get used to seeing what you do need to add every single time. Like for example, me and my husband, we always have to have frozen pizza dough in our freezer like on tap because we always like to make pizza for dinner like 2 or 3 times a month. So like we always just have to have that kind of stuff. So that's always something that we make sure is on our grocery list as well. Always try to add the exact number of the things that you need. I feel like I always do this. Like when I add tomatoes, my husband just buys a lot of tomatoes. But when I say English cucumber, he just buys 1, when really sometimes we'll have 2 meals that need an English cucumber, especially if we're taking leftovers the next day. So like we'll make tzatziki bowls or Greek bowls and that has English cucumbers, but we'll also make chipotle bowls and that also has cucumbers as well. So like it can be really hard if you don't buy enough, and then again you're forcing yourself to go into the grocery store, step foot, boom, $75, even though you only needed 1 cucumber. If there are more than 2 people in your household going grocery shopping from the same list, like the person who makes the list is not always the person who goes grocery shopping. Be very specific when it comes to newer items. I wanted canned garbanzo beans for something, and then my husband came home with like a huge bag of dried garbanzo beans, and although I use them for like keeping crust down when I bake some sort of pie things, yeah, I definitely am never going to go through the effort of like actually using them for what they're for. And then also I think one time I wanted to put artichoke hearts on a pizza, and he came home with like a full artichoke, and then we cooked it for like 2 hours and it still wasn't ready. So yeah, just kind of like being more specific. But by creating a good grocery list, you can have the right food when you need it so that you don't have to go to the grocery store as often. Third tip is to eat before you go. I feel like this is a pretty common tip, but I definitely noticed that when I became the one who was doing the grocery shopping. I decided to do the grocery shopping during my lunch breaks when I had a work from home day, and basically I wouldn't eat lunch and I'd go grocery shopping instead, because it did take me like the full hour to do so. I'd be like, oh, it's fine, like I'll eat afterwards. But grocery shopping takes so much energy out of you. Obviously you should eat before you go for like a very obvious reason of the fact that you might buy a lot of things or something. Like I found that I was always buying grocery store sushi, which like I'm not above. I love it so much. And I found that I was just always going and buying it, and that was obviously raising our grocery budget by like $13 or $14 a week. My husband is like this pro level grocery shopper. He is so good, so efficient, so good at sticking to the list and everything. The other reason that I find that I have to eat before I go grocery shopping is because when I'm there and I'm so overstimulated, there's so many things where it's like, oh, like I'm already in the produce, but I forgot the milk, or I'm already at the bagels when I forgot like a canned good or like cereal or something, and they're like all the way across the store. I find that if I'm hungry, I don't have any patience for doing that, and I just absolutely cannot get myself to like complete the grocery list and buy everything on it if I am so incredibly hungry and overstimulated and like at my wit's end, because I just like can't, like I need food in me. So I definitely get overwhelmed and I give up when I don't eat before I go grocery shopping. And then again, that makes me go to the grocery store sooner because I forget 3 ingredients for 3 different meals. So it means that we have to go back to the grocery store, and again, spending so much money at the grocery store, because I feel like we never truly just get one thing when we go. We like get inspired all of a sudden and we start buying everything again, even if we don't need it. So remember, if it is your rich life, if this is the thing that you want to prioritize financially, by not eating before you go to the grocery store and kind of like doing the vibe grocery store shopping where you kind of just see what looks good and you do buy lunch there, like I have literally nothing against that. But for us, I did not intentionally raise our grocery budget by $300 in a month. So I wanted to make sure that I wasn't doing these things. I was making sure that I was keeping our grocery budget low by being just more intentional, if that makes sense. But again, I'm not like knocking any of these things because it's your money, it's your life, you get to do what you want with it. But for us, it was an accident and I didn't want it to happen again. Okay, so tip number 4 is to go to a cheap grocery store. So I have heard of people knowing the deals at different places and like driving around from grocery store to get like frozen chicken here and bread here and other things. I don't know. Like I feel like every time I try to come up with an example, my mind is absolutely blank. But basically you guys get what I'm saying, like driving around to different grocery stores and like having a list for this grocery store, a list for that one, a list for another one, and like spending all your time. So that's great. But I feel like for me, if I wanted grocery shopping to be my full-time job, I could do that. But as of right now, because I work, because I just simply don't want to spend the time doing that, that's definitely something not sustainable for me. So I found that instead of going to many grocery stores or going to one grocery store and trying to check the price of every single thing and keeping my grocery budget down that way, I've decided to just go to the cheapest grocery store and then feel more free when I'm there. That's another way to mentally help you stick to a better grocery budget, because you're not feeling so limited. Like if you go to the nicest grocery store, like say you go to a Harmon's or something, which I don't know if Harmon's are everywhere, they're in Utah though. And if you go to a Harmon's, you'll feel so restricted if you just try to buy the cheapest thing possible there. But then if you go to a cheaper grocery store, you're not as limited when it comes to your money. And I just feel like mentally that definitely helps me a lot. So I have a couple hot takes on what cheap grocery stores actually are. So number 1, I have heard people recently saying that Trader Joe's is cheap. I don't think so. Like I think it is not cheap. I mean, especially when it comes to certain things, like buying meat there is, and produce. I feel like some of the produce there is so incredibly expensive. They have the super delicious frozen meals that like come in a little serving, which I think are really good. But for me, I think that those meals do not last very long. Like I remember one time getting the little like lasagna. I think maybe it had like 2 servings in it or something. It definitely wasn't enough. I just find that Trader Joe's, yeah, and it might not be that expensive, but again, I feel like you have to go grocery shopping regularly for that. And like every single serving might be more expensive than somewhere else. So that takes me to Costco. I feel like people are obsessed with Costco, which I get it. Costco is super fun. We go a couple times a year, but Costco is not somewhere that saves me and my husband money if we shop there regularly. And hear me out, like it's gonna be okay. Like if you feel Costco is cheap and it's saving you money, that's great. When we have kids someday, if we have 3 or 4 kids someday, like of course I'm gonna be shopping at Costco, most likely. We'll see. So anyways, for me, I feel like Costco is super expensive because say you really like the Fairlife protein shakes, which I know people go crazy for. They are really tasty. If you buy them at Costco, you are buying them for cheaper than you would if you bought them individually. Like if you bought like a pack of 30 or something, it's cheaper than if you bought 30 individual Fairlife protein shakes at Walmart, right? My thing is that Costco in the end doesn't really save us money because it has just such fancy brand name food items. Costco just has too good of a shopping experience. It has too pretty of food. I also find, and this has happened to me multiple times, where I'm like looking in someone's pantry, not in a creepy way, but just like they're like grab a snack or something, or I'm like help me make dinner. And I look in their pantry and I see that classic huge box of Costco granola bars, and the amount of times I've talked to people and they're like, yeah, I don't like those anymore, but I still have them. Like I've had them for a year or something. Like let me know if that's you, because I feel like you buy such large quantities at Costco and then you hate it. I don't know. I just feel like that's not really saving you money. But I will say we do go to Costco twice a year, and that is simply to buy toilet paper and paper towels and then like get like a rotisserie chicken or something. Like I will not buy our toilet paper or paper towels anywhere else because I just feel like they're so cheap there. But for doing our regularly monthly, weekly grocery hauls, I just feel like it does not save us money. Okay, if you're not new to my channel, then you definitely know that we shop at Winco. We are like do or die big Winco stans, honestly. I've always wanted them to like please sponsor me because I just love Winco so much. I think it is such a great place to save money. So Winco saves you money because the shopping experience is so disappointing, so non-aesthetic. Like it is not cute in there, not like a fun, like, oh, I'm gonna run an errand, like go get a soda and walk around Winco. I wanna go to Winco and be in and out. I'm not trying to be there and trying to browse. Like I would never try to do that. I'd never be like, oh honey, there's a shed and a paddleboard that we need to buy. No, it's like, oh, here's everyone. They're having a family vacation, chilling, hanging out, clogging all the aisles. Like that's really how it is there. So I'm not trying to say that like it's too much, but it's definitely not like a grab a soda, let's have a good time, let's go to Winco together kind of place. Also, Winco allows you to buy in bulk, but instead of buying name brand items in bulk, they have bins where you literally like scoop the stuff out, or you like go like this and put it in a bag, and then you like do a little twist tie and you write down the charge code for it. So nothing there is really name brand. I mean, I think they do have like High Chews and Lindor truffles there that you can buy by the pound, which is really fun, but a lot of it is unbranded and just extremely cheap, and you only need to buy as much as you really need for the next foreseeable future until you go grocery shopping again. So you're not like just clogging your pantry full of a ton of food items that you don't want to eat eventually. So a ton of like Winco brand items, which can save you a ton of money, kind of like the Great Value and the Kirkland Signature as well. Like they have a lot of those things there. And then they also save money and like pass those savings on to you by not letting you use credit cards, because there's a credit card fee that inevitably would get past the consumer. And then you also have to bag your own groceries. So it's definitely like a 2-person experience, except for most of the time my husband goes by himself. So they do a lot of things to save money to pass that on to the people who are shopping there. And I really appreciate that. And so when I go to Winco, I feel like an absolute queen. I'm like buying this, buying that, or whatever, because it is so incredibly cheap there, instead of going somewhere like Costco, feeling like you were really holding back and then still getting to the checkout place and being like, I can't believe I spent that much money on groceries. Okay, I've also heard though that Aldi's is a really cheap grocery store. Now there is no Aldi's around here. I don't think I've ever even seen one before, but I genuinely don't understand. Is Aldi's always stocked, or is it kind of like a bargain market where it's just like all the leftover stuff from other people's places? Like I'm super confused how it works. Is it a normal grocery store? Does everyone go, or is it like very specific items? Do they have everything? Is it always stocked? I've never even seen one before. I will say that is a hard part about grocery shopping, is if you live in like a smaller town, sometimes you don't always have access to the cheaper grocery stores. We used to live in northern Utah by like the border of Utah and Idaho, and we lived in a super small town. 2 grocery stores there. I think it was like a Kent's and a Ridley's, which not really big grocery chains and not incredibly expensive per se, but like everything was in such a tiny container and there's just like not a ton of options. Okay, and then my 5th tip for keeping your grocery budget low is to do everything you can to avoid food waste. So waste is going to happen. As someone with the scarcity mindset, mindset. I definitely have struggled feeling so incredibly guilty and ashamed of myself if I ever wasted anything in life, but I've gotten to the point where like it's okay. But when you are in a grocery shopping system that lends itself to a lot of waste, that is definitely always wasted money. The biggest waste of money will always be the food that you do not eat. So here are some ways that I make sure that we avoid waste in our grocery budget. I try to only buy things that we can reasonably eat within the freshness date. Can only ever really let us buy 2 zucchinis and 2 bell peppers because I find that we just can't eat more than that within a given week. We also buy like 2 red onions, but just really trying not to go overboard when it comes to the bulk sections and buying like, for example, an insane amount of spices, because spices do lose their aromatic, I don't know, whatever. They're not always super amazing and tasty forever. And so I try to really make sure that we're only buying what we actually need to eat. Obviously, if it comes to things like pasta and rice, it's not the end of the world if we buy so much of that, because eventually we are going to eat that. And I really do little things like keeping the bread on the counter instead of in the pantry, even though it looks better out of sight. I never remember to eat the bread if it's in the pantry. And then I also do that with fruit. I know that fruit lasts longer in the fridge, and there is some fruit that you have to put in the fridge. If an apple is in the fruit drawer, like I won't eat it and they'll go bad. So I try to keep a lot of things in our fruit basket. Also, veggies can be outside of the fridge as well. I put them in there just to always make sure that we are remembering to use them. So yeah, they might go bad faster, but I'm actually eating them within the time before they go bad, as opposed to they're good for longer in the fridge, but again, I still just never eat them because I never see them. Okay, and my final tip for keeping your grocery budget in check as prices are rising is to make sure that you prioritize leftovers as a whole. Our leftover strategy is very strong. So we both work hybrid, and the days that we go into the office, we want to make sure that we have leftovers to, number one, keep our eating out budget low as well. I'm not opposed to eating out at all. I love eating out, but I really want it to be intentional, and less just like, oh no, I didn't have time, I'm going to eat out. So eating leftovers and planning to have leftovers is a very sustainable way to keep your grocery budget low, because it really does lower the mental burden of needing to make sure that you're making lunch for the next day. You're having to make less choices about what you're going to eat because you've already made it before. So when I meal plan, sometimes I put like little indicators, especially if it's a new meal, as to whether or not it is leftover friendly or not. So for example, like you can do street tacos the next day, but it's just so many different moving parts to bring, and you're like assembling it at work. And especially since my husband usually works through his lunch break, he doesn't want to be like sitting at his desk assembling a ton of street tacos for himself. But then on the flip side, it's like when we make slow cooked enchiladas, those reheat so well the next day in a microwave that we love to make them when we have a work from office day the next day. And it really is great because when we are cleaning up dinner, we literally just pull out Tupperware containers and then we put our leftovers in there. And it's just so nice because you don't have to think about it at all. You don't have to think about what you're going to eat or making it the day before or making it in a rush right before work. So it's very convenient. And then also having like a warm home cooked meal for lunch the next day is so much better than eating a sandwich every single day. Now I do love a sandwich, but sometimes they're soggy and so it's like really hard, but you just have to find what meals reheat the best the next day. And you also have to remember that a lot of workplaces have only microwaves, and although I prefer a nice air fryer reheat, not every place has that. And so when I go to work, I have to make sure that I'm remembering like, okay, would this chicken taste good reheated in the microwave? We'll make a dish with chicken, and we found ways to make chicken taste better the next day, like a different way to cook it. In the end, it's not going to be very sustainable if you're making yourself eat gross food, like gross reheated food the next day. So when I do plan my meals, I have some meals that are not leftovers friendly, like salads and street tacos, like a lot of zucchini. I find that zucchini is not good the next day. But then we also have leftover friendly meals, and this is kind of like habit stacking with, you know, making dinner, then filling Tupperware containers for lunch the next day. It's like a habit stacking that saves time and money as well. Anyways, I think that is it. I really hope that this helps you keep your grocery budget low if you want to intentionally be smarter when it comes to how much money you're spending on your groceries. And also, I probably inevitably missed some really good tips that you guys use. So if you found that something was not on this video, definitely drop in the comments below so we can help others keep their grocery budget low as well. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.